So we need to actually the carbs of this motorcycle. They are overflowing with fuel. So we need to find that out, show you it step by step, how I'm cleaning it, what to look out for, and little tips along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start straight away. I have got the carbs out of the motorcycle and I'm showing you here the overflow. I'll call them valves. So at the bottom of the carburetor you have overflow valves. When the bowls get full, the fuel leaks out of these. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to position it on this jack. I'll use a piece of wood to help me out. I have got a separate video of how to take the carbs out and what to keep an eye out on that, so make sure you check the description and the notes for that. I've got an extra little painter's kettle thing here just to catch the fuel if it falls out. I'm just going to position that there so we can grab the overflow into there. So this will happen if your carbs have floats, and the floats have these little spring, I'll call them closing valves. There's probably an official term for them. So as the fuel comes into the carbs, it basically goes through the system into the bowls, and then once it reaches a certain level, it should stop. If the valves and the little stoppers are working. So what we're going to do is I'm using my DIY auxiliary tank, which you can check out. I did a separate video of how to make a quick carb tank, auxiliary fuel tank. It's made out of an old drinks bottle. You can order one of these on Amazon if you want to, but I was just keen to get on with it. I didn't want to wait for delivery, so I just made my own. So what I'm doing here is I'm holding the bottle upside down, just letting that fill the carbs, and the carburetors have bowls, so the fuel should fill into those. I'm just going to hook this up here, and now to check if the bowls have got fluid in them, you can leave it there for a little while, and then there are normally screws on the side of the carburetor bowls, which are like an overflow screw. So you can open that and see if fuel starts flowing out. So right now it seems to be holding the fuel, but I think, see, I'm just tapping it just to make sure the fuel has made it down. So in your type of carburetors, what you want to do is get the fuel in there if you've got an auxiliary tank, and let it sit for a little while and see if the overflow comes out. I'll show you what happens when it does do that. So I have gone through this and spent some time. You'll see the little straight head screw on the side of my carbs, and that allows me to undo it and release the fluid. So what I'm going to do here is unscrew that little straight head screw and let the overflow come through. This does two things. It lets me know the bowls are full because fuel will come out of the line underneath the overflow line, which I can see happening here. And it seems like once the flow starts working, it will carry on dribbling. So this is the initial test. This is outside of the motorcycle and we've got it on the workbench, so you can see we've got a few droplets coming out. It may just be the case that it needs a bit of a clean. So there's two ways of doing this. You can either take your whole carb apart, or if you're a bit ghetto like I normally get, you can just check the end of that little overflow pipe and you can just clean it and give it a blow. What that does is it blows through the carb system, and it means that anything that's stuck with that clip, that little push valve, it just dislodges it. If that is the case, you'll see I'm just going to clean it off with my finger. There's nothing wrong with a bit of fuel. If you've ever taken siphoned fuel from your car or your motorcycle when you needed, you'll know how to do that. So here you can see I've given it a bit of a blow just to loosen up anything that may be in the way of that valve, which is basically stopping you having to open up the entire carb and checking the valve. If that doesn't work, you could use a compressed air or something if you want to. If that doesn't work, then you have to take the carb apart, which I'll show you the second way of doing this, which will be trying to get you sorted out for your overflowing carbs. So let's have a look at that next. So keep in mind, if you are working with your carbs, you want to get the right set of screwdrivers. The Japanese carbs are these JIS screwdrivers. So I've got the carb here. I'm going to take the float bowls off, take the screws off around, and then take the bowls off. And the second way of testing this is going to be how I'm going to show you right now. So what I've done here is I've taken the screws off, I've turned it upside down. You'll see there's little floats here. So remember the direction it will be in your motorcycle. The float balls are normally on the bottom. So you're going to hold this up and you're going to put your fuel line back on with your temporary auxiliary tank. Let fuel flow through it. Have maybe I didn't really put anything underneath it, but put something underneath the carb so you can catch the fuel so you don't end up making a mess everywhere. And your idea here is you're going to let the fuel flow, and those little floats on the bottom of the carburetor, you can push them up and that will stop the fuel coming out. If the fuel still comes out while you're holding these up, that means your valve there is either blocked up, cogged up, or you need to get a new one, replacement one. You can clean them and try it again. but when you let go, you should get fuel coming through. When you push the floats up, it should stop. This is kind of imitating how if the bowls were full of fluid, the valve would close, which would not let the fuel flow. And that would not flow, which means it would not go in the overflow valve, which will not drip out the bottom of the motorcycle. Hopefully that makes sense, what I'm saying. But I'm showing you here, so hopefully it makes sense when you see it. As I let go of the floats, the fuel comes out. If I push it back up, it stops. So that means it is okay and it's good. Also check your floats in water to see if there's any holes in the floats. Because if the floats are taking up fuel, they're not bouncing back up, if that makes sense. But that's a quick overview of floats and bowls and overflowing. Drop a comment in the comments below if you're struggling with this, and I'll see if I can help you. But this basically, as you see how carburetors work, it kind of makes sense. Everything is logical in terms of if this isn't working, go on through the logical steps of testing it. So that was that section. Hopefully you found that useful. I'll see you on the next video here, which will actually take you on the next section of this project.